guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping past to spend some time with me today. Today is a different type of video. It is not a haul or not a walkthrough, but it's like a more personal type video, and it's kind of like an educational type video, as well as a video to kind of teach you to kind of like advocate for yourself when you're going through different health issues and different health concerns. And so I wanted to share this with you guys because this is very important to me, and I've never experienced anything like this before. So I wanted to kind of share this with other people because maybe someone else has experienced it, or you haven't experienced it, but things to be aware of when you go to different doctors. So I want to say thank you guys for stopping past and spending time with me today. And I will try my best not to keep you guys too long. And let's get into this video. If you see me looking down, I do have notes that I try to, jot down a little things so I can remember. And because you guys know, I will be easily distracted and I'll be looking around, doing everything else. So to keep myself focused and centered, I've written down some notes. Also, if you hear some noise outside, they are doing the lawn, and I don't even know why they're doing the lawn and messing with these trees, because you guys, it is winter time. The grass is brown. It's not even grass anymore. It's like dirt. But every week they come out here and they cut it. Why? I don't know. Maybe because the contract says they have to, but they cut it every single week. So I don't know. But anyway, I want to get into this video, and the video is basically telling you my experiences that I've had with doctors. And it was doctors that were not as empathetic, negative doctors, things like that. So I'm gonna get into this video because I don't want to keep you guys long. So basically, I've always had health issues ever since I was a little girl, and pretty much over the years they've just gotten worse. And so I want to say they really began to get worse in 2013. But in 2016, that's when they got really bad. And in 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And how I found out was I went to my doctor. As women, we get our annual with our gynecologist. And the gynecologist that I normally see was not there that day. So I saw a different gynecologist, and it was a male doctor, which I don't care if you're a male or a female. Long as you help me, it's fine with me. So I went to go see him, and he felt like a lump in my breast. And he said, I feel something in your breast. I don't want you to be alarmed, but have you addressed this with anyone? And I said, well, I had issues about it like a couple of months ago, and it was kind of like sore a little bit. And when I came to my previous gynecologist, she was just like, it's fatty tissue. Like, she didn't really like check it. She didn't really like say anything. She was like, you're young, so I really can't have you to get a mammogram. It's just fatty tissue. So I just thought, okay, that's what it was. So he was like, he wanted to send me to get a mammogram because he doesn't want to wait until my age to get one, because at this time I was 32. And so, was I 32? You guys, I don't even remember how old I was. I might be like 34, 35, I want to say. Yeah, somewhere along that. I don't know why I said 32, but anyway. So, he sent me to a doctor, to a center or whatever, to get a mammogram done. So I got the mammogram done, and I was kind of nervous because I never had one done before, and I heard people say they really hurt, and so I'm like, okay, I gotta get this done. So I got a mammogram done. After I got a mammogram done, that same day, they referred me to get the ultrasound done, which was done in the same office. After they finished the ultrasound, they said that they want to schedule me back for a biopsy, and the reason why they want to do that is just to make sure that what they had seen wasn't anything major, and it kind of like tested and make sure that it wasn't cancerous or anything. So I was like, okay. So I told my friend, and she was like, don't worry about it, it's probably just precautionary, and because you're young, they want to make sure that everything is in order. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm easily distracted. I'm looking out the window at cars pulling up. Focus, Shantae, focus. And they want to make sure that everything is in order, and so don't worry about it. So I went back for my biopsy, and it kind of hurt a little bit. I really thought it was gonna put me to sleep because, you guys, I don't really have, it's weird. I don't if I know something is going to happen, I don't have a high tolerance for pain. But as it's happening, I can kind of endure it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm afraid of needles, and I'm afraid of needles because I used to have seizures really, really bad when I was a little girl. And the one time I went to the doctor, and they had this student that was giving me an IV, and she broke the needle off in my, I don't know how she did this, in my arm, and they were trying to dig it out, and it was just a really bad experience. So I'm really, really afraid of needles. So I was asking them questions or whatever. So they numbed me, and I was like, I know you feel like you numb me, but can you numb me again? They were like, sure, whatever. So they numbed me. It still, it hurt a little bit. I think it was more so pressure than like hurting. And so they did a biopsy, and they told me that they would, notify me, or they scheduled me a day to come back to get my results. Oh Lord, did y'all just see that? I sure did just have a moment. Excuse me, you guys. I'm trying to give you guys a rain shower. But anyway, so I was like, okay, no problem. So they scheduled me to come back, and I came back, and this is where my experience as a patient went downhill. So they referred me to come back, and I came back, and they took me in this room, and it was the same room I had my biopsy in. And so I'm sitting down in a chair, and I didn't really bring anybody with me because I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know I needed support. I didn't know any of this. My friend was waiting in the lobby for me though. And so the nurse comes in, and she tells me the doctor wants to speak with you. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And so the doctor comes in. I don't think he said hello or anything like that. He didn't call me by my name, and he just told me his name. And he told me, you have cancer. And then he said, you have a nice day, and he walked out. And so I'm like, okay. And so the nurse proceeds to say, well, yeah, we found something, a cancerous cell or whatever in your right breast. And so we want you're going to have surgery. And we have a doctor, a surgeon in mind. Actually, well, we'll give you different surgeons, but our top surgeon is this person. And we would like to send you to him, and he will take it from there. And she was like, we're going to schedule the appointment, and we'll call you with that appointment. If it's work for you, that's fine. And that's it. And she was like, I'm sorry this happened to you. And, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And that was it. So the nurse was, better, like a lot better. And so I was just like, wow, like I've never experienced any type of thing like this before. And I don't know if that's what doctors do. I don't know if they just tell you and they just walk out, and I don't know. And I don't expect for a doctor to cry with me or hold my hand or anything like that. But I would expect for you to be a little bit more empathetic and say it like, I don't know, in a different way or something, instead of just saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, you have cancer, have a nice day, and walk out. Like, I don't know. I've never experienced this, and I'm the only person in my family who's experienced breast cancer, so none of my family members have experienced it either. So I didn't know how they're supposed to talk to you or anything. But by me being, in the medical field or the health profession as well, I always try to be very cautious and empathetic and patient with my clients, because I want them to feel that, I was there for them, and they had a support system within me, and, they weren't alone, and I understood to some degree what they were going through, just things like that. And so I was like, wow. So anyway, okay, so I'm sorry, you guys, I had to pause for a minute because one, I had to get my thoughts together, and two, you guys always know I'm a very emotional person, which is, and so I want to make sure that I'm not on camera like crying my eyes out. So I go to my surgeon. He does what he has to do, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't want to go through this process like each step, because this video will be very long, but I'm trying to just get to the points where I want you guys to, focus in on and the purpose of the video. So I go to my surgeon. He does everything he's supposed to be doing. And so I go to my oncologist, and when I see him, he basically explains to me what I'm going to have done, chemotherapy, radiation, things like that. And then because of the type of cancer that I had, that I was going to have to be on medication. There was still a form of somewhat type of chemotherapy for the next 10 to 15 years, even after I finished my weekly sessions or whatever with therapy. And so I said, okay. And the next thing he proceeded to say was, I see you don't have health insurance. And I was like, no. And he was like, why not? And I was like, well, I started a new job. I only had been in a job 6 months, and I found out I had breast cancer. And during that time, guys, it was like, when I found that out, I instantly became depressed. I really became depressed. And so I wasn't myself. I just wasn't myself. And I became very anxious, and I've always had an issue with depression and anxiety, but I think during this time it's got a lot worse. And so my doctor at the time wrote a letter to my job and was like, basically what I was going through, and, I have to go to chemotherapy, things like that. And would they work with me? And so my supervisor was like, yeah, fine, no problem. And then 2 days later, they called me in the manager's office, which is over the supervisor at, social services. And she was like, you're fired. We can't work with you. And, we don't need your services anymore. So they escorted me to my desk, and I had to clean my desk out, and they sent me home. So I didn't have insurance. And he was like, well, why didn't you try to get Medicaid? And I said, well, I tried to get Medicaid, and Medicaid, they denied me, and I'm filing an appeal. So I'm waiting to hear back from them, but I don't, I can't get Medicaid. So he's like, well, why don't you have Obamacare? And I was like, well, I called, and I don't know what most people be saying, but when I called all the numbers that I was provided with, the lowest amount they told me I could pay per month, which I don't understand. Some people pay $30, $40. I don't know how they do that, but they said I would have to pay anywhere between $168 to $350. That's how much it would be per month for me. And at the time, I did not have the money to do that. So, and my mate at the time, they were the only one working now because I wasn't working. So it was like one income, and I always made more than my mate. So it was like a really hard struggle at that time. So basically we couldn't afford like anything extra. So he told me, this is my oncologist. He looks me in the face and he said, well, normally when people have insurance, they get a nutritionist, they get chemotherapy here in our office so we can keep an eye on them. They get radiation at another office. They get educational programs. They get different type of services. If they have like joint problems during the radiation, they get therapy. He was just telling me all the services they get. He was like, however, you don't have insurance. So my job for you is just to keep you alive. And that's it. And that's all I'm doing. So I'm like, okay. And then he was like, they'll see you at the front desk. And he walks out. So I'm looking like, okay, all right, I don't know. And so at that point I was just, I think honestly, excuse me guys, at that point my depression got worse, because my depression and my anxiety, because it was like I was being punished for having having breast cancer, and like it was my fault. And I know certain things can cause breast cancer. There's nowadays everything can cause cancer. But in my knowledge, I wasn't doing anything to cause it. And this was a very serious situation. This is my first time dealing with this, and I just wanted someone to be somewhat empathetic. I didn't expect for doctors to do cartwheels. I didn't expect for doctors to, cry with me or nothing like that. I just want you to be a little bit more empathetic. And I didn't get that. And so at the time, I had to continue with this doctor because I didn't have insurance. And he was the only doctor that will allow me to pay $10 per visit every time I came. And they would, granted my bill still racked up, they still let me pay $10. And as time went on, he would tell me that, I don't know what you're going to do because chemotherapy is very expensive. and your amount that you owe is extreme, and I don't know how long you're going to be able to get services. So they, I couldn't get any services in their office because I didn't have insurance. So they referred me to an outside service, which was the hospital. And the hospital provided my chemotherapy and my radiation. And luckily, the hospital had a program that if you were in a situation I was in, the hospital paid 100% of for your chemotherapy and for your radiation, and any issues, like any tests, anything you had to have done, they paid for that. Now, when I went to him, it was a different story. His services were different. And so I still had to pay $10 a month. And so, but I was grateful that I can actually get help, because without the hospital, I don't know how I would have been able to get chemotherapy and radiation, because I called around several places. A lot of places told me no, they denied me. And as a previous therapist and social worker, I kind of knew what to do and who to call, because I had, some of my patients or clients who had dealt with different types of cancer. And so I kind of knew like who to call, but yeah, but none of them had breast cancer like me. So I still was in the dark. And so every time I went to this office, this oncologist office, and I totally understand this. I totally understand that, when someone provides a service, you have to pay. I totally understand that. And I felt bad because I wanted to pay for that service, because they were taking their time and energy out to help me. And so every time I would go, the lady at the front desk, it was like before I would go in there, I would like get nauseous. I would be crying, because every time I would go in the office, she would talk really loud, and she would be like, "Miss Wright, $10 is not going to do it. You need to pay more." And I'm like, I don't have it, because my mate at the time was the only one working, and when I was working, I made more money than my mate. So all of the bills fell on my mate, and so they were doing the best they could. And at this time, I could not work, because I was so out of it. I was so nauseous. I was so tired. I had the depression going on, the anxiety going on. I didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't eating. It was just, I could barely stand on my feet. I started having swelling in my legs. It was just a lot going on, and I really couldn't work. And honestly, I did try. I tried to get jobs, and I had jobs find out, because I had to be honest with them. I had to tell them I was getting chemotherapy, and they were like, chemotherapy is a beast, and you're just starting a new job. We can't give you time off like that to have chemotherapy and radiation, because I wasn't just getting it for a couple of weeks. I was getting chemotherapy for years. Like, I got radiation for like 6 months, but I got chemotherapy for years. So they knew it was going to be a problem. So it was, I couldn't find a job. And every time I would come, she would be like, the place I went to was like always a lot of people waiting to be seen. And she would say that every time I came. And I would just be like, feel so bad, because people be looking at me. And I was like, I don't know. I just didn't know what to do. So fast forward, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's 18 minutes. I started having really bad problems with my legs. So I was sent to a rheumatologist, and I don't know what happened. It seemed like at this time, I thought when you got chemotherapy and you were like kind of half eating and things like that, that you lost weight. I gained weight. And I called my sister, because she's a nurse, and she's been a nurse for like 20 something years. I'm like, do people gain weight on chemotherapy? She was like, yes, I've had a lot of patients who actually gain weight. Like, you gain a lot of weight from chemotherapy. And she was like, also, you're on a lot of different other medications that cause weight gain. And because you can't really, move around like you should, you're going to gain weight. So I went to the rheumatologist, and she was basically supposed to help me with my legs issue and things like that, and to see what was going on. And the first time I went to her, she was like, I think you have fibromyalgia, and she put me on some medication or whatever. So the second time I went to her, she was like, I was telling her I was still having issues and things like that. And so she was like, well, basically, you're a bigger type woman, so it's hard for me to tell that you're swollen because you're big, basically. And yeah. And so she was like, you can just take Tylenol. And at this time, the pharmacy had called me a week before and told me that I could not take Tylenol, because one of the medications I was on, it would have a really bad effect if I had combined those two medications. And so I told her this, and she was like, no. All the medicines that you have, I don't see anything wrong with Tylenol. And I'm like, this is a pharmacist I've been going to for years. Like, I don't think he would just call me and tell me that. Like, he's very knowledgeable, and anytime it's a recall on my medicine, any issues, they always call me and let me know. So needless to say, I didn't go back to her anymore. So the next experience I had, and I'm looking down at my paperwork to make sure that everything I tell you guys is good. So the next problem I had was I was going to physical therapy because I finally was able to get insurance, and I had to see a orthopedic surgeon because my legs were getting like really, really bad now, like to the point where I couldn't even walk. Like literally, you guys, I was like crawling on my knees like they do in the military to get from one point to another point in the house. So I went to him, and he was very, very, very sweet, very nice, and he referred me to physical therapy. When I had the physical therapy and everything done, and over time, it seems like it kind of worked with me, but over time, it's like my I started to get worse. So I had to have knee surgery, and as I'm going through all these other things, I had to have knee surgery, and after I had knee surgery, honestly, like my mental, my physical just to me got worse. And so one day I was going to physical therapy, and a lady that my physical therapist at the time, and I knew I did not want her because I had to go to physical therapy for my wrist, my neck, and my other leg at one time. And I would always see, I would always see how she talked to other patients, and I'd be like, I never want to get her. Like, I never do. Well, I ended up getting her. Yes, I did. And she was like, she's almost like a drill sergeant. And I know they can't be sensitive with you because physical therapists get you up and moving, you know, to restore things and all of that. I totally understand that. But she would be like, have me doing different exercises, and if sometimes I couldn't get through the whole exercise, or you know, I would be in a lot of pain, then she would be like, oh my gosh, like you're not doing anything, and what are you doing at home? You must just be at home sitting down all day because you can't do anything in here. And I was like, ma'am, no offense, but I am on 16 medications a day. I have 11 specialists because I have a ton of health issues. I have problems with my lungs, my heart, I have I just go on and on. And I sometimes get tired, you know, and I do exercises at home. I also have this little like bicycle that you sit down and you can like ride, like called a QB. I ride that, and I stretch every day, and you know, I'm doing the best I can. So needless to say, after that, I was just like really quiet whenever I had her or whatever. And I was grateful that I only had her twice, and throughout the rest of my sessions, I had to go for 6 weeks, I had other therapists that I've had in the past. They were very helpful and very nice. My last doctor I want to talk about is my cardiologist. And my cardiologist, my first experience with him was at my primary care doctor, because I kept having problems with my heart, and she wanted to make sure that everything was okay. And so he came to this doctor's office, which my primary care doctor was kind of like a clinic, but also like a doctor. The one I was telling you about, that kind of, I don't know if I told you guys this, but she was the one that was trying to help me with all of my medical issues because I didn't have insurance. And this particular place was for people that didn't have insurance, and they really work with you. And a lot of things were free. Some things they would let you just pay a little bit on. So it was like a really good place, and she was a very, very, very good doctor. And so she was telling me that they have a heart doctor that comes in every so many, I don't know if it's once a month, every so many months, and he free pro bono, he checks out their patients for them to see what's going on. So I was like, okay. So I met the doctor, and the first time I met him, he was nice. He was really nice, very informative, you know, just down to earth. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really gonna like him. So my first visit with him, I go back there, get checked in, everything. So I'm sitting in the room waiting for him. At this point, I know sometimes you wait at doctor's offices, but at this point, I had been waiting for him for an hour and 45 minutes. Like sitting in the waiting room, not in the lobby, in the waiting room, waiting for him for an hour and 45 minutes. So 2 hours hit, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I hear all this commotion out there, whatever. And he was trying to get like a heart exam for someone else, and the ladies were getting together, whatever. And At this point, he was like, okay, you guys, I'm going to the hospital. And the lady was like, you can't go. You have this patient in this room and she's been waiting for 2 hours and she needs to see you. And he's like, oh, okay. So he comes in the room, he walks in, he says, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing okay. And so he sits down at the desk and he's like, yeah, I'm going to have you, no. This was after he gave me the heart monitor. I had already worn the heart monitor for like two weeks. So he was supposed to give me my results that day. And so he walks in the room and he, asks me how I'm doing and everything. And he sits at the computer and I tell him I still have, a lot of issues going on and I'm still worried because my heart isn't functioning properly. My other doctors noticed it and things like that. And so he was like, well, you don't have swelling in your legs and you're already on enough medication, so I'm not going to do anything. And he walks out. I'm like, okay. Like, he didn't answer any of my questions. That's all he did. So I went to go see him again recently. And at this time, I waited 40 minutes in the waiting room for him. He comes in. He doesn't even sit down. He comes in. He doesn't close the door. And he says, how are you? And I said, I'm tired. No, first he said, what's going on? I said, well, I have some issues and some concerns because I just had surgery and the hospital is saying that my heart, like they did an echo and they were like, an EKG, they were saying that my heart doesn't look right and they did it due to, see what was going on. And he was like, well, that happens when you're about to have surgery. I'm like, do you realize how many surgeries I've had? I've had a ton of surgeries. Like, I was saying this to myself. I had a ton of surgeries, so I never had this problem before. So I'm like, I just look at him like, okay, whatever. So, then he proceeds to ask me, how are you? And I said, I'm exhausted. I'm really, really tired. And so he looks at me and says, you're too young to be exhausted. You're too young to be tired. And what you need to do is you need to get up and exercise. And so I said, well, you know what? I'm doing the best I can. I am on chemotherapy. I have 11 specialists and I'm on 16 pills a day. And I do the best that I can because I am exhausted and in pain every single day. And then he's like, oh, yeah, you're my cancer patient. Sorry. And then he walks out and says, I'll see you in 6 months. So I'm telling you guys all of this to say that I've had some very bad experiences and I should have advocated for myself more. But it's like sometimes when you're in a situation where you're at the mercy of people, it's hard to do because when you don't have insurance or you're limited with different services, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like you have to go through these things in order to get back better. And so once I'm able to get insurance, I did switch my rheumatologist to the doctor I have now. He's great. I did switch my oncologist to a doctor I have now, and he's great. And then the cardiologist, I just started seeing him. So what I'm going to do is I go back to my primary care doctor soon. And so I'm going to ask her, can she refer me to another cardiologist? Because I don't know any in my area and I've never had any issues with my heart and no one else has had issues with their heart. So I can't ask around, and I'm not from this area. I'm from another area and I've only been living here. Well, I've been living here for like 8 years, but I never had problems with any of these issues. And excuse me, where I was born, I knew a lot of doctors there, but now here I don't. Someone asked her to send me to another cardiologist because it seems like, I don't know, I guess because he feels like I'm young, which I'm not young, honestly. I am 41, so I guess I am young, but I'm not young. I guess compared to his other patients, most of his other patients, every time I go, I'm the youngest one there. They're anywhere between 60 and older, which to me still is young. And so maybe he feels like, well, she's young, so her heart can't be that bad, type of thing. And I don't smoke and I don't drink. Well, I do have wine occasionally, but other than that, I don't. So he probably feels like, it's no big deal. But I honestly want to get a second opinion, and I want to get a doctor that's going to listen to me, not someone who's rushing me, not someone who's sarcastic. This is my life and this is my heart, and you only get one heart, and I have to take care of this heart. And I think I have to do what's best for me. So, sorry guys, you know I'm be easily distracted. So I'm looking outside. Someone's moving and I'm looking like, what? But anyway, um, and so, yeah. So this video, I just kind of wanted to just tell you guys about some of my experiences and things that I've been through. And, it's very, unfortunate that sometimes people have to go through these different things. And that's why every time I had patients and clients that couldn't afford certain things or whatever, I bust my butt to try to find services and, programs and grants and things and people that would help them, because although I had never dealt with this issue, I know that if I ever did, I would want someone to help me. And to get in that position and no one is willing to help you, it's very hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with, and it messes with your mental. It really does. And I started to feel like, well, maybe I'm a bag of crap, and that's why they're talking to me like that, because I've even had the doctors that I've just mentioned and talked about told me, you have degrees and you're an educated woman. I don't understand why you can't figure this out. I don't understand why you can't find a job somewhere. And I was like, I have tried to find jobs in between me getting the chemotherapy. And, due to like the constant swelling in my legs and me vomiting and not being able to eat. And sometimes I couldn't even shower. Like my friend would have to help me complete my shower. And, it would be so bad sometimes I would have to literally crawl around the house to get from one point to the next. But I was still trying to find work. I was still trying to find work because I didn't want people to think I was lazy. And I've always worked my whole entire life, and I wanted to, do my part. But when I went to apply for jobs, I had to be honest with them, and I had to let them know, I'm actively going chemotherapy. And they were like, well, we want to hire you, but chemotherapy is a beast, and you're not going to be able, you're going to be tired, you're going to be nauseous, you're going to be sick. There's going to be a lot of days you're not going to be able to come in at all. You got to take time off, because chemotherapy, I did it weekly, and so I would be there basically a whole day getting it. So I would need a whole day off, and then the next day I had to go back for this shot. I don't know if it's called a Neulasta. I forgot the name of it, but I have to go back that next day for the shot. And that would take like 2 to 3 hours. And so they were like, we can't work with you. So I try to do work from home jobs. And those jobs are kind of hard to find, because a lot of them jobs are not legit. And the ones that were legit, you had to have a lot of equipment. And my mate and I at the time could not afford that equipment, and I had an older laptop. I didn't have a desktop, and so it was just a struggle. And then some days I couldn't even get out of bed. My mate would fix my breakfast and my lunch and put it beside the bed, and that's what would happen. So it was just it was just not a great experience. And I'm not saying dealing with this is going to be a great experience, but having people in your corner that support you, that are empathetic, that are willing to help you no matter what. I did not have that experience, and it did something to me. It really did something to me. And I just want to let you guys know that if you're going through the same thing that I'm going through, if you have support from family and friends, or if you have services in your area or programs in your area or grants in your area that's willing to help you, please take advantage of them, and always get second opinions and stand up for yourself. I don't have family, and I don't have a lot of friends, so it was just basically me and my mate and 2 other friends. And one of my friends lived in New York, so of course she couldn't be here. And my other friend lived 45 minutes away, and she would do the best she could, but she also was social worker like me, and she worked. So it was just really hard, because I had to drive myself to appointments and just do a lot of things on my own, and it was just overwhelming at times. And so I want to tell you guys that advocate for yourself. I've always been the type of person where I never liked conflict. I always want to make people around me happy, regardless of how it made me feel. So a lot of things my doctor said to me, I let it go, and I would just cry in my car. But I'm learning now that this is your life, and you only get one life. And if you don't fight for yourself, then no one else will. And so I made this video to let you guys know that it's okay to get a second opinion. It's okay to want more for yourself. It's okay to demand someone to treat you, of course, in a respectable manner, to treat you as a person of value. and a person of worth. And I didn't get that. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything that you guys would like to address with me, or any input, you can leave it in the comment section down below. And I really appreciate you guys for, watching this video and being attentive to my channel and tuning in and things like that. And you guys are awesome. You guys are great. And I really appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. The next video will definitely be more uplifting, but I just kind of just wanted to give you guys, just a gist of, things that I've experienced. And so I love you guys. I want you to take care. Please stay safe and stay positive. And like I told you guys, I always want to try to leave a video with one positive thing in my day. And my one positive thing today is that, one, I was able to get up. I didn't feel that great, but I pushed myself to get up, and I pushed myself to make breakfast for myself. Most of the time I just lay in the bed and I just don't eat. And this morning I ate oatmeal, and I was happy because I ate something oatmeal as opposed to candy or chips and things like that. Also, I was able to make this video because honestly, you guys, I struggled with making it because I know a lot of things on YouTube are fun and entertaining, and videos like this, people really don't want to, listen to or see or hear. But I thought this was very important and I wanted to make it. And I tried to record this video 5 times and I was just like, Shantae, you just have to do it. And it is what it is. And so I prided myself because I did record this video. And also, I'm a very emotional person, and so I don't want to cry every time I come on my channel. And so I was able to kind of hold it together. Although I stumbled and I had some bloopers, I was able to hold it together throughout this video to get the video done, and I'm very proud of myself. And so I want you guys, if you can, to maybe list something positive in the comment section that you have endured today. And if you learn anything from my video, let me know. If there's more questions, let me know. If you have any input, let me know as well. And I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. And like I always say, do you, boo. Peace.